Hey everyone, Matron here, bringing you another StarCraft 2 commentary, this time one of my own games. My opponent will be Infinity, who is a Masters level Terran player, 283 wins, 241 losses, ranked 25th in his division with 2,700 points, so let's get started. This is going to be a custom game that I found through Reddit. Been talking to a lot of people in that channel and in the Karma channel as well, and playing a lot of customs to try to get better at my Zerg play. You see I will be spawning as the pink Zerg, and Infinity will be spawning as the green Terran, and we are on these southern positions, so I do have to worry about the rocks in between both bases. I want to make sure that I get some creep spread there and always have eyesight on his rocks and mine to make sure that he is not poking through with some sort of 10-minute, 12-minute timing push up through the rocks. We see a lot on this map and in this ZvT matchup. So my general plan in ZvT is to try to go Speedling, Baneling, and Mutas. Use Mutas to try to take map control, make sure that I have good creep spread, make sure that I control the towers, and then just constantly harass him, his production, and his SCV lines to try to keep him from getting that huge death ball. Eventually that big Terran death ball will happen, and you're going to have to defend against it. At that point you want a lot of creep, maybe you want some infestors as well. And you want to have an equal, if not greater, number of units than him. Typically Terran can kind of fend off that early pressure and that mid-game pressure from Zerg pretty decently with some split forces and turrets. So the big key is just to keep at it, and then eventually when they push out to try to take you down, try to get good defense, and then counter and hopefully win the game. That's how I've been playing a lot of my ZvTs. So we see Infinity knows I'm playing a Zerg, so he will be getting up a bit of a wall off here with his first racks and his supply depots, and going to be doing some scouting here with his SCV. I have seen that he is on this this position here. I don't believe he's seen that Overlord yet. If you see on his vision, he can't see it, so I need to pull that back so that he's unable to see, and then I just continue getting up my hatchery here. On Shakuris, I feel good about getting that hatch up first and going with the pool a little bit later, so I think that was a 15 hatch, 15 pool. And unless I scout 2 racks pressure, probably not going to be too worried about defending this early expansion. It looks like he is getting a gas though. I like the fact that he got the rightmost gas. I would have been able to see the left gas with my Overlord, so at this point I'm pretty blind on his build. He is getting down just a few Marines at the start here, queuing up a little bit there, and I'm keeping my Overlord right by his rocks, that way I can make sure they're not going to go down anytime soon. My pool has gone up here, so getting my own queen and getting a second queen as well. A lot of players will not get that second queen right away, go with a few more drones, maybe a few lings to try to get map control in the early going, because you just don't need that many larvae. But I want to make sure that I'm spreading creep between the two bases quickly and try to get a tumor down my ramp so that if any Marines come in the early going, I can get a good surround with lings before they have speed. So my first 2 lings coming out, I'm trying to attack move, catch that SCV because I saw it leave my base, and then splitting these lings up so that they each take a tower. And again, that's one of the things I really love about Zerg, is using those speedlings, using creep for map control, good Overlord placement as well. I like to have a lot of information, and the other races just can't get as good amounts of information. They can get targeted information with scans, you can put out observers all over the field, but Zerg just has so many great ways to kind of control the game and get map control. So it looks like we're going to have a 1-1-1 build here, a tech lab going down onto that factory, so maybe see some Banshees coming out of this starport perhaps. And at this point I have still done no scouting. I do have a drone here for some reason, perhaps that was a miss rally. Need to grab that guy. If we check the drone count, it is 25 to 23. And if we look back at the production, it looks like he has the pre-igniter coming for his Hellions, so maybe going for a Hellion drop blue flames. He's got good patrol here on his Marines. He's going to make sure that no Overlord can get in here. So at this point his build is completely hidden. He's coming off this first 2 Hellions, and blue flame is about a third of the way done. Back in my base, I'm getting up lair, I'm getting up a Baneling nest, and it looks like I'm also getting a evolution chamber. I'd like to have that evolution chamber just in case those Banshees come across. I have a feeling I'm going to be able to see anything coming across with this Overlord here, but again, I don't really, haven't done any scouting of him. I should at least have a Ling poking up his front door. I'd see the 1 Rax and I'd at least suspect some higher tech, but playing pretty blind here at the moment, so not really taking advantage of the fact that I do have speed and a lot of good ways to try to scout the map. Looks like I finally do have that Ling poking up, and I'm going to see the very light number of Marines, and I'm also going to see this dropship moving out with 3 Blue Flame Hellions. So what I'm going to do is get up a few Lings here. They are speed Lings, so they'll take on Hellions pretty well as long as you can get us around. Also going to get both of my Queens in position, transfer my drones off of the mineral line so not too much damage can be done, and then these Queens are going to do their best to take on these Hellions. And Queens do pretty well. They're not light, they're biological, so Infinity pulling back, does not want to lose this medevac and the remaining 2 Hellions. And I also hotkeyed the all those drones onto 5, so I'm easily able to grab those 10 drones and bring them all back. It looks like he's going to try to drop once again with these Hellions. At this point I have some Lings coming in as well, going to try to get us around. A few Lings are going to go down, but it looks like I am going to be able to clean this up without any sort of economic damage. And feeling good at this point. That was a little bit of a techie build for him. So he went for those blue flames and it did not work. So at this point I'm just going to continue to drone up. You see 4 drones coming on the way. I already have 32 to his 31. He was preparing another command center at that point, so he's going to be able to push out here and expand. He has a siege tank, and I believe he's getting siege tech up as well. It's just about to finish. So he's going to be quite content here just to take his own expansion. I have a Ling doing a nice patrol from his 3rd and his 4th, just so I know when he's getting that up. And it also provides a little bit of sight in case he tries any drops in the northern position, using my Queens now to place some creep tumors. I believe I got done a 3rd Queen as well, just because I wasn't sure whether the Banshees were coming or whether it was Blue Flame Hellions that he was teching up to. So I wanted to make sure I had enough Queens to take on either of those, and it looks like I'm getting up my own 3rd. So gonna try to stay 1 base ahead of my opponent. Now up to 45 harvesters compared to his 33, so my economy is up and rolling. I've got my Spire up as well, working on a few upgrades here on my Evolution Chamber. I should be getting the Carapace first, instead getting the melee attacks first. Carapace is just very good against tanks. The level 1 gonna make it so that those Zerglings are not one-shot. The tanks do 35 damage when they are in siege mode, and those Zerglings do have 35 life, so you want to get the armor up and rolling first. Trying to stay on top of my injects here. Did a little bit of hotkey remapping, so I'm trying to do a little bit better, kind of like the backspace or the tilde method people are using for their hatcheries injecting. I've been trying that. You see I've got more and more drones on the way, and I also have my first pack of mutas about to come out. He's kind of matching me in the worker count, and he's also got those mules, so his income is actually a lot higher than mine right now, just because it looks like he spent a lot of energy on those mules. At this point he's getting up a few missile turrets in his base. He has yet to see my mutas because I haven't pushed out with him, but at this point he's got to assume. So he's getting up at least 1 missile turret in each of the mineral lines. If we check the worker count, it is 48 to 45, so I really need to get my 3rd saturated. I need to get a Queen up there, and I need to start doing some damage with these mutas. So Muta is going to be coming in here, hopefully soon. And it looks like I'm getting a little bit supply blocked. Overlords coming out 3 at a time now. And going to be making my way into the supply line. Again, he's got 47 harvesters, now up to 48. We'll see how many I'm able to get. He's got a nice surround and a nice defense or repair on this missile turret. I wasn't able to take it down. Looks like I lost 2 mutas there. And he didn't lose anything in the way of SCVs. A few of them are quite low, but he's going to be adding some more missile turrets at this point to various parts of his base, and he's keeping these Marines here as well. I could be poking into the natural, try to pick off a tank or 2. You want to make sure that his tank numbers do not get too high. Eventually those tanks, they're going to get so many that the Zerglings and Banelings that you have to defend against anything are just going to be not very good. Looks like there was a bit of a drop attempted there. I think I saw that with the Zergling there, and then I was able to move my Mutalisk up into position. So if we check out my map control, I've got both towers. I've got a Zergling on patrol in the northeast corner. I've got pretty decent Overlord placement in the corners of the map, so no medevacs are going to be getting by. So nothing cute. He's going to have to push out with these Marines and tanks. Looks like he's going to be doing that right now. If we check the Army tab, it is 2,600 to about 25. If we check the Income tab, it's 54 to 56. Off of these 3 bases, I really need to be droning up a lot harder. If we check my my count of larvae here, I've got quite a few larvae. I haven't added this hatchery to my hotkey yet. And now moving in once again with these Mutalisks to try to do some damage. And anytime your Terran opponent moves into his base to defend, the medevacs are going to be taking the direct route as the crow flies, and they often arrive ahead of time, ahead of those Marines. So you can kind of pick a few of them off if you're careful, and then once you do that, you just pull back with those Mutalisks before the Marines do show up. Trying to spread a bit of creep across the center here and keep my tumors moving across the middle as well. If we check the Income tab, still 52 to 55. It looks like I'm getting a few banelings on the way. Kind of suspect that at this point he's going to be pushing out soon. He's got a lot of Marines. They have 1-0 upgrades. He's got the tank as well. No upgrades there. He's going to want to get the 1 attack upgrade for his tank. That's going to make it so Zerglings, no matter their armor, are one-shot by tanks in siege mode. And again, have a lot of larvae here saved up, and that's one of the things that kind of plagues me as a Zerg player, is I just don't use all my larvae. If you check the resource counting station, I'm up to 3,000 resources, but just really light on gas. I need to be expanding. It looks like I'm taking a 4th. Really should be taking a 5th at this point, and just going to try to terrorize him with these Mutalisks. He's still on 2 bases, so feeling good about that. I'm about to be on my 4th, and I want to try to deny his 3rd best I can. And it looks like with that Zergling, I was able to see this medevac pushing out once again. So I'm going to be cleaning that up with this this flock of mutas. Really need to be getting more upgrades for my mutas as well. As you see, they're just waiting for this poor medevac, as she's going to go down very quickly there. The remnants falling into the water. And now he has about to take in a 3rd here. And this is going to be a planetary fortress, so it's going to be difficult to take on with Zerglings. But again, I play this passive style where I try to use my Mutalisks to do as much damage as I can. I see these missile turrets coming in. I want to take those down before they are able to come up. I still have both towers, so I'm able to see all of this. And I'm going to try to poke in here and take on as many SCVs as I can, or perhaps even go into the main. He has a few missile turrets up here, but without any sort of repair, they will go down quickly to this many mutas. It looks like I have about 2.5 rows at this point. So close to 20 mutas, getting up an infestation pit and working on some more upgrades. Another attack upgrade. I will be on 2 attacks soon. And again, I can see all this movement Marine-wise from these towers here, just because I control him. He's going to want to try to move out and take back those towers because it's just giving me so much vision. I'm able to poke in here. I know that the Marines have all left, and I'm able to do a nice job against these SCVs. So he's able to take down 3 or 4, maybe even 5 SCVs there. Start working on this planetary fortress until those Marines get into range, and traded 1 Mutalisk there for a lot of SCVs. And still pretty even on the worker count. I want to be so far ahead. I've got 4,000 minerals here. Really horrible at this point, and I should be saturating both my 3rd and my 4th, making sure I have gas up and going on both of those. And he's pushing out here with a lot of Marines and a lot of siege tanks. Looks like he's got 81 Marines, 10 siege tanks, taking down that tower, doing a scan there first just to make sure that nothing unwelcome is going to be waiting for him. And now I've got a lot of mutas, or a lot of banelings and Zerglings here. Check 83 Zerglings and 16 banelings. Could perhaps use a few more. I do have the speed upgrade for my banelings, and I've got 34 mutas as well. But he is getting up a missile turret as well as a few sensor towers. Good positioning on these siege tanks behind the Marines. Going to make sure that the siege tanks are able to take on any Zerglings or banelings rolling in here. And he still hasn't taken this tower. Really like him to take that. I'm going to try to poke in here and take on tanks if I can. Again, you want to keep your Marines well spread so that the tanks can't go down. I'm able to take out 2 tanks there, halfway damage 1 of them, but still has quite a few. And I believe it's going to be too much to handle with all these Zerglings that I have. Again, trying to figure out any sort of angle I can get in here on the tanks. Because right now, those are my enemy. I know I can take on his Marines if I can get those Banelings and the Zerglings in. Got another 11 Banelings coming. He's going to do a bit of scouting here with 1 Marine. So he's going to see my Zergling count and stimming up here, trying to take on these Mutalisks. It looks like he's able to do a little bit of damage. but I'm able to take on these SCVs once again, taking down that missile turret and a bunch of these SCVs, and just wrecking house on these missile turrets and the SCVs down to 42. And it looks like I'm going to be able to take down this planetary fortress. He's got all these Marines. He doesn't want to go around the rocks there. He knows that his tanks would be susceptible to those mutas. I can really take advantage of the map with the air control here. But again, taking out that third, it looks like he's getting another third up and going. My Zergling on patrol there knows about it, so he's going to be wreaking havoc here best he can, taking on that missile turret. Brave little Zergling. So at this point, he's got a nice siege, a nice press in here, and he's going to want to continue to add tanks and Marines to it, perhaps another missile turret or two. He's got a nice spread on his Marines. I'm unable to find any sort of angle here to get in on the tanks. Perhaps from the north, I would want to take down 3 or 4 tanks, and then roll in here with the Banelings and the Zerglings and the Mutas all at the same time. So yeah, I have 80 Zerglings, still have a lot of minerals, and I am not yet capped, so I want to try to cap as quickly as possible. I've got a lot of infestors on the way with the pathogen glands. They will be finishing before the infestors come up. So infestors are going to be very good against these Marines, especially if they do try to stim. So as Zerg, I've been having trouble in these late game situations. At this point, I feel like I'm sort of ahead. I've done a decent amount of damage. So check the units lost tab. It is 5,400 for him to 3,800 to me. So I've been able to harass his economy again, perhaps going out once again to do a bit of harassment, and I feel like I'm ahead. But I've been having a lot of trouble in the late game just with my control. You see, losing a lot of Zerglings there that I really didn't need to. Looks like about 27, didn't realize how many I lost there. And he's pushing forward with small amounts of Marines, and he's just going to do as much damage as he can, and then just pull back to his tank line. Looks like I'm taking a few Banelings here, going to try to get to as many of those Marines as I can. But the Banelings go down very quickly to those tanks. So I do have my my infestors out, and now I need to use my infestors, my Banelings, my Zerglings, and my Mutas all at the same time. I need to get good fungal growths going down. I need to get my Zerglings engaged on the siege tanks before the Banelings come in, but need to get the Banelings soon after so that they're able to take down the Marines. And this is a lot of different units to control. As Protoss, you pretty much just A-move into this, and maybe get some storms down, you have good success. But as Zerg, any one of my forces, the Infestors, the Banelings, the Mutas, or the Zerglings, will go down so quickly to this this contain here. So I have to try to hit at the exact same time. You sort of want to have it like a bunch of waves hitting your opponent from every direction, and then eventually you're able to come out on top if you do it correctly. At some point I have to break out here. I'm not going to be able to do any sort of transfer to my third or fourth from my main or my natural because he's got these siege tanks into position. I do a little bit of a bad job engaging here with the Zerglings all first. The Banelings coming in late, getting a few fungals down. The Banelings going down to those tanks and not able to get into all those Marines in the back. He does a nice job pulling those back. I lose all my Zerglings. A lot of those Infestors went down as well. Some of it very high energy. I need to get some fungals off on these Marines as they do stim up here. Trying to make my way down here and get some fungals going. Fungling a few tanks. If we check the army counting station, I'm down to 1 Infestor, 1 Ling, and that's it. On the production tab, I've got 16 Mutas on the way. I've got to get a lot more Lings coming as well, but it looks like I might be a little bit short on larvae at this point. I really should have been adding some macro hatches to help me spend my money. I've got 3,000 minerals. I can't spend it. I suicided those Lings in there, and it was really bad timing. The Lings went in much earlier than those Banelings, and then the Mutas from behind kind of hit late as well. Did not get any good fungals. I think I had 11 Infestors there. I maybe got down 3 or 4 fungals before those Infestors died to the tanks. So like I said, the wave wants to hit from all 4 directions at once as I'm trying to clean up the siege tanks here. But I really wasn't able to do it. He was able to see all my different waves of units coming and deal with them one at a time. So bad timing on my part there. And again, the late game control in this ZvT matchup, such a challenge for me. The tanks and the Marines are very powerful. If he had maybe 3 or 4 Thors, the Mutas would be very, well, would not be very effective at all either. And it looks like at this point the army counting station is 4,600 to 1,400. So it could be all she wrote. He's doing a nice job spreading all these Marines out. They are going to be Baneling proof. I do have a few Banelings, so I'm going to try to roll in there, do as much damage as I can. And again, going in there early with my Zerglings. So too early, all those Banelings going down to the tanks in the back and giving the GG there. So, been trying to play against higher level players. As we see, I have a lot of drones there that needed to be transferred, but I just couldn't. I've been trying to play against master level players just to try to practice my my ZvT and all the different matchups. At this point, I'm probably platinum, maybe mid-diamond level Zerg, but I had been practicing this ZvT quite a bit, and I was feeling more and more comfortable. He was able to clean up a lot of my creep, make it difficult for me to get to him with the Zerglings and the Banelings, and this contain is just so difficult to deal with. I probably should have done a transition maybe to roaches to take on those units, or maybe gotten up to tier 3 a little bit faster, either ultras or broodlords to take on that contain, because at that point he just owned the middle of the map. I felt very passive. I wasn't able to do a lot of damage with those mutas. I felt like I needed to keep them a little bit closer to home just in case he did decide to push in. I would need them to defend, and he was able to survive all my harassment in the early going when I did a pretty nice job with the mutas, and then around the 18-20 minute mark he just took that middle and just kept adding more and more siege tanks and marines to it. Eventually I suicided practically all my units against that contain, and then he was just able to push forward for the GG. So this has been one of my own games. I'm going to try to bring you more and more of my games as I do practice against these high-level opponents. I think that my mistakes can really teach both of us as I look through these a second and a third time. So thanks for watching this one. Take care.